What up guys, it's Tops, and I'm back for another review. It's been so long since I've done one of these, but anyway, today we're going to be talking about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Part 1, Phantom Blood. Now, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a long-running shonen series that the manga's been going on since, I think, 1986. So yeah, over 30 years. That's a long time, and since then, many parts to it have been released. And what are these parts, you may ask? Well, how this series works, it's a lot different than most series. It's actually like each part is one generation of a family, and then the next part, the main protagonist, is like the next generation of that family. So like a lot of time passes, like over a century passes throughout this show, going down generations down the family, with each new like main story arc having a new protagonist in there, which a lot of people will probably be against, because I mean it goes against everything shows usually have, being like one main character there. But I really like how this works out. I think it's kind of cool how there is one big story overall throughout the series, but each individual part has its own stories that just go only along with that. So yeah, I mean, I love this. It's something different, and that's what I like about it. It's not the same old thing. But yeah, what is this show actually about? Now, this is a vampire anime. Yes, guys, actually like real vampires, no ghouls, none of that stuff. Real vampires, and how it works is there's actually a mask that people can take, and it's like some ancient mask that has this magic, and it makes you into a vampire. Now, in the wrong hands, this could go very bad, and well, you guessed it, it does get in the wrong hands and go very bad, and it's up to Jonathan Joestar to save the day. This is his story of him fighting the vampire and his rival, Dio. Now, once again, I would like to repeat, this is very, very short part compared to the other ones. Like this shares a season with part 2, but less than half the season is dedicated to this part. Like, it's very, very short, but it follows Jonathan's story on his quest to defeat his rival, who just happens to have become a vampire now and is planning to terrorize the world. Now, it skips a lot. There's a lot of time skips. It starts off with them being just like kids, and then, you know, like the first episode, just to give a backstory, because that doesn't really matter towards anything else. And then the characters are like young adults throughout the rest of the show, which is very short still. But I mean, these time skips, they do hinder character development a little bit, but I mean, the character development isn't so important in this first part, just because this part in itself is a backstory. Like, most of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure takes place at a much later point in time. Like, the newer parts are much longer than the older parts. The older parts, they were kind of just there to give some backstory and to like kickstart off the series, so they wouldn't have to like go back and add some things about the history, you know, like later on in the whole thing to explain everything. But it's a very short story. It could have even been a movie, I think, instead of the amount of episodes it got, which actually was, I believe, like, I don't know, like 10 years ago, there was actually an animated film about it. But this adaptation, it was the anime, so we're gonna be talking about that. But yeah, I mean, as a backstory, it is very good. I like it. It's very entertaining. Like, just as a show alone, the entertainment's there, the excitement's there. It's just that it's not quite complete by itself, which makes sense because it's part 1 of the series. But yeah, I mean, that's most of what I have to say. I would like to say, watch the dub. Unless you're like a sub-elitist, really give the just give the dub of this show a chance, because there's 2 good reasons. Number 1, it takes place in England. They speak English in England, not Japanese. Number 2, it's a very, very good dub. One of the best I've ever heard in anime, so I'd really recommend it. But anyway, now it's time to talk about spoilers. There's not too much you could even really talk about this show without diving into spoiler territory, so here we go. First of all, I'd like to talk a little bit about the final battle with Dio. So you have Jonathan Joestar versus Dio, like the final battle, which I did not think it was the final battle at the time, because it came so quick that when I was watching it, I was like, oh, so this is just like their first battle, right? Or actually, it was their second battle, but this is just one of the earlier battles, right? Like, it's gonna be later on in the season. I didn't even realize that there were both parts, both like the first and second part were one season. I kind of just thought the whole first season was just part 1. And I was like, oh, they're gonna fight later, right? And then I found out, all of a sudden, like, JoJo's just incredibly strong. like, it really just skipped over all of his training, which happened around, like, episode 4. Like, in between 4 and 5, it kind of just, like, skipped over that. Like, that's when I mentioned before about the time skips. Like, this is another instance where the time skips become somewhat of an issue, because usually in shonen series, you get to see the development, to start from here to there. For instance, Hunter x Hunter, like, literally, like, the first 60 episodes of that show were about Gon and Killua starting from the very bottom, not even, like, still, like, taking their Hunter exam and then getting all the way up to the top and getting stronger, where in the later episodes they showed off their strength, but it took a very, very long time to get there. This show, it just went right from 0 to 100, like, very fast, which it was fine, because I think it would have been a little bit boring if they had just gone in depth with the training. There wasn't really anything that happened in the story. Now, this is an adaptation of a manga. They can't really change what was written 30 years ago. So I think it was fine like this, just because, again, it is a backstory. This is just the little preview, I guess, like, just a little bit of history behind where most of the show takes place, which is a little bit closer to present day. And one more thing I have to say about this show, the amount of deaths, like, that was insane. Like, this is, like, the Game of Thrones of anime. This show has so many main deaths to the cast, like, wow. It was rough. It was a little bit rough. I mean, I guess it makes sense, because the whole thing about family generations, where none of these characters will matter in later parts, since by the amount of time that has passed, this part takes place in the 1800s, and, you know, the newer arcs take place, like, around present day. So these characters would all be dead anyway, but wow. A lot of deaths in just a few episodes. But anyway, guys, that's it for the spoilers. I'm going to wrap it up around here. So overall, I thought this was a great start to the series. As a standalone anime, no, I do not think this would have been as good. It would have definitely been entertaining and worth the watch, but it wouldn't have been anything like of real value, I guess, just by itself. But as like a prequel, as like a pre to like the other parts in the series, it's a great way to dive into the show. It really gets you engaged into it, and I really recommend giving it a chance so you can enjoy the later parts as well. Alright guys, that's pretty much all I have to say. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like. It really helps out. Thank you guys so much for the support. This is Tops, and I'm out.